Coaches, it's everybody's favorite time of the year. You know, summertime. You know what summertime means? 7-on-7. And today we're going to talk about 3 habits you might want to avoid during your 7-on-7 season. Stay tuned. Coaches, welcome back to Airraidnation. This is Coach Coltharp coming to you again, and I got a special video today because we're going to talk about everybody's favorite, most controversial subject outside of the buck sweep, and that's 7-on-7 and whether it's really worth it. You know, as an air raid guy, you know, we love to throw the ball, and we always talking about spinning it to win, and you know, so 7-on-7 is something we do a lot in the summertime, but we don't do it for what you think we do it for. I mean, really, in the video today, we're gonna talk about some things why we do 7-on-7, and then we're gonna talk about maybe 3 bad habits that are developed in 7-on-7, in my opinion. We just got back yesterday from NC State's 7-on-7 camp and had a good time. We went 4-1, lost the last game to one of our viewers, Coach. Shout out to Coach Wilson at North Pitt. He's doing a good job over there, and they're going to be an air raid team to watch, I think, this year. He's got some talented guys, but you know, went up there and competed and had a good time with our boys and everything. But it just highlighted to me one of the things that I don't like about 7-on-7 culture, and it's got nothing to do with the travel clubs and anything like that, because I don't get into that. If you want to do that, that's on you. But I'm talking about 7-on-7 as it relates to developing your program and making your team better for the fall, so that you can win championships and improve your ball club and improve the experience your players have on Friday nights. So that's kind of what this video is about. It's not going to be about club or travel 7-on-7. It's not like that at all. It's going to be about talking about why we do 7-on-7 and the things I think you need to avoid. And hey, listen, man, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it. We're getting so close to 10,000, man. We're about 1,500 away or so, and you know, it's just mind-boggling, the number of coaches that reach out to me about the stuff that we put out on the channel. And you know, it's also really cool when we go to places like NC State yesterday and several coaches come up to us, and me and Coach Salas both, and talk about, you know, watching our videos and how productive it's made them and how it's helped them grow as coaches. So, man, that makes me feel really good. So if you drop a like on the video, and in the comments down below, what do you think are the best things about 7-on-7? What do you think are the worst things about 7-on-7? Let's get a conversation started. And other than that, man, let's jump into the video. All right, guys, so let's talk about why we do 7-on-7 first of all. And I think, you know, if it was so negative, you know, why would you do it? And I don't think it's negative. I think the benefits do outweigh the negatives. But if you develop some of these negatives, I think you're hurting yourself more than you're helping. So that's why we're talking about this today. So the number one reason we do 7-on-7 is competition. And, you know, we want to go against other people and engage ourselves. And here's why. If you're at a program, let's say you're at a program and you're trying to do a rebuild, and you're out there and your offense looks really, really great against your defense, and you're really excited about where you are, and you talk to the newspaper about you making progress. And then when the season starts, you go 2-9, and you're like, what in the world happened? Well, the problem is iron sharpens iron. Plastic doesn't sharpen plastic. So if your defense isn't very good, your offense is going to look good. And if your defense is good and your offense isn't very good, but your offense is very bad, you're going to get false indicators on where you really are. So being able to compete against other schools, and for us in North Carolina, because we don't have official spring ball, we can't compete against other schools in the spring in football related activities. So I can't go to my neighbor in high school and say, hey, y'all guys want to throw on a Thursday? You know, we can't do that until after everybody gets out of school. I mean, you know, we probably wish it would change, but you know, they're very protective of off-season activities in our state. Let me know down in the comments though, like, you know, what are you allowed to do in the spring? Because it's kind of interesting to me when I talk to coaches all over the country how that goes. So, you know, we go from, you know, competition. The other thing that we like about 7-on-7 is we find out, can they do it? You know, if you're moving a guy to a new position, or you got a JV guy that's moving up and you're going against some other guys. And, you know, we found out yesterday we're really high on one of our rising sophomore safeties, and we think he's going to be a good player. And I still think he's going to be a good player. But yesterday you could tell that the pressure of going against other teams kind of got to him a little bit. And that was his first time. So by the end of July, he's going to be amazing. By the time we get into the season, he's going to be amazing. But you could see yesterday that there was some hesitation in the thought processes and stuff like that. So it kind of let me know where I need to guide his teaching to get him ready, because his upside is really good. I think he has opportunity to be a college player. But you know, also, you know, if you're moving a guy from, you know, in our situation, our H is normally our young Z. So like if we have a freshman that we think is going to be really good, or a sophomore that we think is really good, he's going to start off at H. And a lot of guys ask me these questions: how you decide to put guys? X is our dude, Z is usually a dude, and Z is more of a screen guy for us a lot of times. And so H is our young Z. So that guy who starts off as H normally will end up being a Z by the end of his career. And whoever the Z is will end up being the X. So it's kind of ends up, he's like, who's going to be your future number two? Is kind of how it is. And then usually Z is our future number one. That's kind of how we develop them. So you start off as X, you go to Z, and then you end up, start off at H, you go from H to Z to X. And then Y is a completely different guy. We always talk about him being a tight end type guy. So that's kind of how we progress it. But do you find out, can they do it? The other thing is reps. Coach Momey talks about that magic rep, and Bruce Lee talks about, he'd rather fight a guy that has 10,000 kicks that he's practiced once than the guy who has one kick he's practiced 10,000 times. And, to me, that's the beauty of the air raid, because your offense is concise. You only got a certain number of concepts you're working on, and you really get to move forward and keep going and keep going and keep going. Also gives you a chance to try some new stuff. If you got a new route that you picked up in the off season, watching one of the videos or looking over at Coach Tube or going to a clinic or something like that, and you really kind of like it, and you're saying, okay, let me try this to see if it works. And then, my only thing about that in the air raid, if you put something new in, you need to take something out. That way you can stay on your insertion and your practice schedule. So for me, that's kind of why 7-on-7 is important, and it's a good deal, and the kids like it too. But here are the 3 habits you probably should try to avoid. My first one is I call him Uncle Pat. It's just, I think it's the biggest detriment in all of 7-on-7. And that is when that quarterback sits back there and he's patting the ball and he's moving around and he's getting into his 5th rotation. And then you got some young kid who's running the tournament back there going 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. And then finally he throws this, deep ball over the middle that some guy who's run a 3 shimmy route comes open and he hits it, and everybody's going crazy because he threw a touchdown. Well, that's so unrealistic for us. I know last year on average, quarterbacks had an average of something like 2.7 seconds to get rid of the football when they play us, because we attack on that. And, if you want to learn about our attacking nickel program, I'll put a link to the description down there to the course on Coach Tube. You can check that out. But, we're blitzing from somewhere everywhere. We're coming hard. We're looking at your pass protection. And, I told one of the guys yesterday that was doing the 1,000, 1,002, I was like, yo, they must have Jim Lachey and Anthony Munoz. And he was a young guy, so he didn't know who those guys were, but that's 2 of the best offensive tackles in the history of football. But I'm like, they must have a freaking all-pro O-line with the way this guy was patting and getting into his 5th and 6th progressions. So I think that's huge. And this goes back to, like I was just saying, how many of you guys really get 4 seconds? If you're getting 4 seconds from your offensive line, you're doing amazing. We threw the ball over 300 times last year, and we gave up 1 sack. Part of it was because our quarterback was pretty good at extending plays. Our running back was excellent in pass protection. But most importantly is that we're a 1, 2, 3 throw guy. Team. We're going to make sure that our quarterback gets that ball in his hands, and we develop that in 7-on-7. We don't like to get into that 2nd, 3rd, 4th progression. So it's really, really important that you don't lean on Uncle Pat when you're getting in these 7-on-7s, because it's going to hurt the quarterback more than it helps him. And I certainly believe that. And what I think as a DC, as a defensive coordinator, when we go 7-on-7 against teams that we play, and look, we'll 7-on-7 anybody. We don't care. We'll 7-on-7 Alabama. We might not complete a play, and we might give up touchdowns every pass, but we don't care. It's just about competition. But when I 7-on-7 against somebody we play, or if I see somebody we play 7-on-7 and their quarterback has Uncle Pat, I'm telling you right now, I feel really good because of the amount of pressure that we put on teams. And so that's the first habit I think you really, really got to avoid. The other one I think is using the running back unrealistically. I saw this yesterday quite a bit. I'm a firm believer in using the running back. I think if you throw the tailback in your passing offense, it limits blitzes. We have peel blitzes in our packages because we're scared of running backs getting out in the flat, not being covered. But some of the stuff you see when you go to these 7-on-7, You know, it's these unrealistic releases are ridiculous. I mean, you have running backs that are free releasing behind the center and going down the middle of the field and running corner routes and doing all this other stuff. Knowing good and well, there's no way he's getting through there full speed with all that pass rushing and stuff going on, and linebackers keying them. But you see that. And then my other favorite one is they'll put everybody's running this 11 personnel with this H back. And then the H-back is running a shallow route, but he's going through the guard hole to get there. Nobody's going vertical to get behind the D-line and then come across. They're releasing, at 45-degree angles from, a yard behind the tackle, going through where the guard is to run a shallow route to run away from your inside linebackers. And that's just not realistic. I think it hurts you. It hurts your quarterbacks. It gives you a sense of security that really doesn't exist. And then my last one is that 10-second wheel route. You got that running back who's going to run all the way to the flat, and then he's going to turn up the numbers. The quarterback's got Uncle Pat, and then he comes back and throws a deep wheel route to the running back. I just think that's really, really unrealistic. And if you're doing any of these things, I think you're creating a bad habit for yourself. I love using the running back in the passing game, but if you're going to use him, try to make him do the realistic things, because if not, you're not helping yourself, you're hurting yourself. And then lastly is having a 7-on-7 offense. I saw this the other day. A team that was more double wing or whatever, traditional running team, and then they come out and they run empty the entire game, entire 7-on-7. I mean, you're basically using 2 hours of a summer session to do something that you may do 20 times in the entire season. I really believe when you go to 7-on-7, you need to do what you do. Run your offense. We went to FCA camp last year, and we had a boot waggle double wing team, and they ran boot waggle passes. And the guy said, "Look, man, I'm here to work on me." And I said, that's why your team is really successful, because you use these things to do the stuff that you need to do. But don't go out there and run gun empty and seven different combination routes and doing all this stuff. I mean, you're wasting your time. You're not getting better at what you're going to do on Friday night. It's okay to try new concepts, but it's important to stay within your framework. If you're a 4-wide team and you want to do work on compresses or bunches or things like that, that's great. But if you're a 21 personnel team, and you don't run a whole lot of gun and stuff like that, I don't think that's beneficial to you. I mean, if you're a wing T team but you run some slot T or gun T stuff, and then maybe you want to split out your wing and give an old ace look or a spread look with the slot one side pro on the other, and work on some stuff, I think that's adequate. But I think when you come up there and your entire 7-on-7 offense is nothing close to what you're doing regularly 85-90% of the time, to me, I think is bad. So like I said, I like to say I avoid implementing packages, because when you implement a package, that's going to take up practice time. And one of the famous terms on this channel that I haven't used in a while is CBA, that cost benefit analysis. What's the cost of putting this part of your offense out there and practicing? Let's say you do 4 7-on-7s this summer at 2 hours a piece. That's 8 hours of practice time for something that you might run 10, 12, 15% of the time. I think you really have to look at the cost benefit analysis of those things. Everybody's got to have a 2-minute plan, but if you're using 8 hours on a 2-minute plan, and then you need to go back and look at your film and see how many 2-minute drives you've had in the entire season, and ask yourself, what's the cost benefit analysis of doing these kind of things? Coaches, thanks for dropping by today to watch the video. I hope you learned something. I hope it gave you some thought processes. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I really appreciate it if you would. Trying to get to 10,000. Drop a like, share it to your buddies. Hey, and in the comments, man, did you agree with my habits? Were they good? They're bad? What are some other habits you see? Let's get a discourse going so we can find some more topics to talk about. And if the video gets 100 likes today, we'll make sure we drop another one by Monday, because I want to have a regular schedule this summer so we can talk a little bit more about football. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and as always, spin it to win.